Chapter 7.1 Interior and Exterior Angles. Ángulos interiores y exteriores. Alright, at the beginning of this chapter, we have a very important formula that we're going to be using. This is the formula right here. This formula is the Polygon angle sum theorem. Okay, this theorem states that the sum of the measures of the interior angles of a convex polygon with n sides is n minus 2 times 180. So I'll go over what a convex polygon is in one moment. But first of all, what this is saying is that when you add up all the angles inside of a polygon, inside of a convex polygon, you could use this formula to find out what the sum of those angles is always supposed to give you. I'll show you what I mean in 1 second and it'll make more sense. Okay, and right here where it says with n sides, that means that you're going to plug, for n, you're going to substitute the number of sides that the polygon has. Again, I'll demonstrate it in one moment. Para este capítulo, lo primero que vamos a usar es esta fórmula. Esta fórmula te dice que la suma de las medidas de los ángulos interiores de un polígono convex con n lados es la siguiente fórmula. Vamos a poner los números de lado donde está la letra n. Vamos a sustituir los números de lado. En un momento explico qué quiere decir convex. Ok, pero primero que nada déjame demostrar cómo se usa esta fórmula. Alright, so here we have a triangle. And we already know that a triangle, when you add up all the angles inside of a triangle, it always has to equal 180. The sum of all the angles inside of a triangle always equals 180. However, let me demonstrate that with this formula so that you can see how it works, okay? Ya sabemos que la suma de todos los ángulos interiores de un triángulo te tiene que dar 180. Déjame demostrar cómo trabaja eso con esta fórmula. Donde está la n, vamos a sustituir la cantidad de lados que tiene el polígono. Alright, so where n is, I'm going to substitute the number of sides that the polygon has. Okay, 3 minus 2 is 1, and 1 times 180 is 180. This tells me that whenever I add up all the angles of a triangle, it always has to equal 180. Esto me enseña que cuando yo sumo todos los ángulos interiores de un triángulo, me tiene que dar 180. Ahora déjame hacer lo mismo con las otras figuras. Alright, let me show you the same thing with the other shapes. A quadrilateral has 4 sides. Alright, so 4 minus 2 is 2. 2 times 180 is 360. So all the interior angles of a quadrilateral have to add up to 360. A pentagon has 5 sides. Un pentagon tiene 5 lados. Así que sustituyo el número 5 para n. Ahora hago 5 menos 2 que me da 3 y 3 por 180 que me va a dar 540. Así que eso me dice que la suma de los ángulos interiores de un pentagon me tiene que dar 540 siempre. A hexagon. Hex means 6. Okay? Un hexagon, el hex suena como 6 en inglés, que quiere decir 6. Alright, so I substitute the 6 for the letter N, and I do 4 times 180, which will give me 720 degrees. And last one, an octagon, which has 8 sides, so I substitute the 8 for the letter N, and I do 8 minus 2, which is 6, and 6 times 180, which is going to give me 1080. Alright, you get the idea. Okay, now real quick, it mentioned the word convex, and I just want to briefly touch on it. You're not really going to be asked anything about this, but just so that you know what it is. A convex polygon, all the vertices are pointing outward, as opposed to inward, whereas the opposite would be a concave polygon, where it has at least one vertex that's inside. Alright, like you see how it has like a little dent, a little indentation in all these figures? Those are concave polygons. These are convex polygons. The formula we just saw only applies to these types of polygons. You're not going to be asked anything about that today. I'm just letting you know because that word was in there and I just want to go over real quickly what that means. Okay, la fórmula o la definición de ese teorema tenía esta palabra, así que hoy no van a tener preguntas sobre esto, pero simplemente para que tengan una idea de qué son polígonos que son convex. Convex quiere decir que los vértices están puntando para afuera, básicamente. ¿Ok? Puedo decir una definición más detallada, pero no es necesario. Pero miren lo opuesto. Lo opuesto sería un polígono concave que tiene por lo menos un vértice metido para adentro en toda la figura. Eso es básicamente lo que quiere decir. Otra vez, por hoy no es tan importante. Alright, moving on. Look at our first example here. It says they're giving us this diagram, alright? And we're going to use this formula. Alright, now it says for the nonagon shown. A nonagon means it has 9 sides. A nonagon has 9 sides, which you could count in the figure and you'll see it. Find the unknown angle measure, x degrees. We got to find out, what is this angle right here? How much is that angle? That's our question. Okay? Nos están dando un nonagon que tiene 9 lados. Y tenemos que encontrar la medida de este ángulo aquí que no se sabe cuánto mide. Así que lo primero que voy a hacer es usar esta fórmula para saber la suma de todos los ángulos interiores, qué es lo que tiene que ser esa suma. Alright, the first thing I'm going to do is use this formula to figure out what is the sum of a nonagon. What is the sum of the interior angles of a nonagon supposed to give me? Alright, so I'm going to substitute the number 9 where n is. Sustituyo el número 9 donde está la n. Alright, so that's going to give me 7 times 180, which is going to give me 1,260. Alright, so the sum of the angles of a nonagon has to be 1,260. Alright, now for the next part of the question. Alright, so basically, look at what they wrote here. Alright, when you add up all the angles, when you add up all of these angles, including the x, which is right here, when you add them all up, it's got to equal 1260. Alright, so when you add up all these numbers and then subtract it from 1260, that gives you the answer, which is x equals 158 degrees. Okay, la suma de todo de estos ángulos, incluyendo x, lo escribieron aquí. La suma te tiene que dar 1260. Así que no lo enseñaron, pero sumaron todos estos números y se los restaron a 1260 y lo que queda, x es igual a 158 grados, que es la respuesta para este ángulo. Es la respuesta de la pregunta. Alright, let's look at another example here. Determine the unknown interior angle measure of a convex octagon. An octagon has 8 sides, in which the measures of the 7 other angles have a sum of 940. Alright, so let me walk you through this, okay? Let me read this in Spanish. Dice, tienen que determinar si la medida del ángulo interior desconocido de un octagon convex en que mide los otros 7 ángulos interiores, déjame decir eso mejor, en que las medidas de los 7 otros ángulos interiores tienen una suma de 940. Así que primero que nada, ¿qué es n? N representa los números de lados, que en este caso es 8. Así que eso es lo que voy a poner aquí. Alright, what is n? N represents the number of sides. An octagon has 8 sides, so n equals 8, okay? So now we're going to use this formula to first figure out what is the sum of the angles of an octagon supposed to be. Okay, voy a hacer esta fórmula para primero encontrar qué es la suma de los ángulos interiores de un octagon. Alright, so right here, for n, I'm going to put the number 8. 8 minus 2 times 180. 8 minus 2 is 6. So I got to do 6 times 180. Tengo que hacer 6 por 180 que me va a dar. That's going to give me 1080. So the sum of the interior angles of an octagon has to give you 1080. Okay, now look what it says here. When you add up the 7 other angles, they equal 940. Alright, so my equation would be this. The 7 other angles plus the angle that I don't know. Because in total, an octagon has 8 sides and 8 angles. It has 8 angles, right? So the 7 angles that I know how much they measure, when you add them up, you get 940. The 8th angle, I don't know what it is. But when you add all this up, it has to equal 1080. Because that's what the sum of the interior angles of an octagon has to give you, okay? Dice aquí que la medida de los 7 ángulos que sí se saben te dan una suma de 940. más el octavo ángulo que no se sabe cuánto mide, pero cuando se suman los 8 ángulos te tiene que dar una suma en total de 1080. ¿Ok? Así que lo que falta es restar 940 de 1080 y eso te da la respuesta. Alright, the remaining step is subtract from 1080 940, and that'll give you your answer, which is 140 degrees. So the unknown angle measure is 140 degrees. La medida del ángulo que no se sabía es 140 grados. Okay, these are sample problems of what you're going to have on your homework. So first of all, determine the unknown angle measures in this pentagon. Notice there's two x's, one there and one here. If they both have the same variable, that means they both measure the same amount, okay? Tenemos dos x aquí en este pentagon, así que eso quiere decir que este ángulo mide igual que este ángulo. And how much are these angles right here? And this one and this one. Everybody, that should be obvious, okay? ¿Cuánto miden este ángulo aquí y este? Those are all 90 degrees. All right, so we got 90 degrees, 90 degrees, 90 degrees. All right, so first thing we got to do is use this formula to find out what is going to be the sum of the interior angles of a pentagon. ¿Qué va a ser la suma de los ángulos interiores de un pentagon? So 3 times 180, which is going to give me 540. La suma me tiene que dar 540. That's not my answer. That's just, you know, I need that. All right, so when I add all this up, it's got to equal 540. So the slow way of doing this would be to write all this. La manera despacita de escribir todo esto sería de esta manera, que no lo recomiendo. Whoops, 540, sorry about that. Okay, the faster way to do it, la manera más rápido sería lo siguiente. 3 times 90 plus 2x equals 540. This is how you should do it. Alright, now 3 times 90, if you know what 3 times 9 is, just add a 0 in the back. So 270 plus 2x equals 540. Alright, now subtract 270 from both sides. And you're going to get 2x equals 270. Now divide 270 by 2 and that'll be your answer. Dividen 270 por 2 y ahí te da la respuesta. X equals 135 degrees. So that means this angle is 135 degrees and so is this one. Cada uno de estos ángulos miden 135 grados. Alright, moving on to number 7. Determine the measure of the fourth interior angle of a quadrilateral. A quadrilateral has 4 sides. If you know, the other 3 measures are 89, 80, and 104. Determinar la medida de la cuarta ángulo interior de un cuadrilátero si sabes que las otras 3 medidas son 89, 80 y 104. Alright, so 89 plus 80 plus 104 plus x has to equal, I forgot to do this step. We already did it before, and this is one that's easy to memorize. For a quadrilateral, it's going to be 2 times 180, which is 360. So the sum of the interior angles of a quadrilateral is always 360. La suma de los ángulos interiores de un cuadrilátero siempre te da 360. Alright, so that's how I set up my equation. It should seem pretty easy to you guys. Now, first of all, add up these 3 numbers. When you add them up, you're going to get 273 plus x equals 360. Alright, just making sure I added right, yeah. Okay, now just subtract 273 from 360 and that'll give you your answer. Resten 273 de 360 y eso te da la respuesta. X equals 87 degrees. Or the fourth angle is 87 degrees. Alright, let's look at number 8. Alright, for number 8, determine the unknown angle measures in a hexagon. A hexagon has 6 sides. Un hexagon tiene 6 lados, whose 6 angles measure the following. Alright, so look at that and look at that, right? Whenever something looks weird, think about what you did when it looks simple and follow the same steps, alright? Si algo luce un poco extraño, piensen de lo que hicieron cuando cuando luce normal y siguen los mismos pasos. Okay, so first of all, let's use this formula. Alright, so a hexagon has 6 sides. Un hexagon tiene 6 lados. So it's going to be 4 times 180. And that's going to give you 720. Alright? Okay, so now I'm going to set up my equation. Ahora voy a hacer mi ecuación. 69 plus 108 plus 135 plus 204 plus b plus 2b. That part you could do in your mind. I'm just writing it out for the people that, you know, may not get it if I do it in my mind. Alright, so when I add up these 4 numbers, I'm going to use a calculator for that. Give me 1 second, just for the sake of time. Alright, so 69 plus 108 plus 135 plus 204 gives me 516. Alright, so all this is 516. Now b plus 2b, that's easy. 3b. Alright, now move the 516 and subtract it from 720. 720 minus 516, let me do that over here, is going to give me, let me make sure I subtracted right. Yeah, okay, so now I have 3b equals 204. So your last step is divide 204 by 3. And you're going to get 68 degrees. So b equals 68 degrees. So if b equals 68 degrees, right, I'm going to erase all this because I'm running out of space. All right, b igual a 68 grados. So that means that this angle right there is 68 degrees, and this angle right here has to be 2 times 68 degrees, which is going to mean that that angle is, whoops, what am I doing? Sorry about that. I'm just kidding. All right, 136 degrees. All right, 136 degrees. All right, si B es 68 grados, este ángulo aquí mide 136 grados. All right, moving on. All right, there's a question like this, like number 3 here on your homework. Okay, hay una pregunta como esta en la tarea. I think it's like the first one actually. Creo que es la primera. Given a polygon with 13 sides, find the sum of the measures of its interior angles. That's easy. All right, that just means use this formula. What is the sum of the measure of its interior angles? When you add up all the interior angles, what is it going to give you? So I plug in the 13 right there. Okay, dice que si tienen un polígono con 13 lados, encuentren la suma de la medida de los ángulos interiores. Básicamente usar esta fórmula, sustituir 13 donde está n. So it's going to be 11 times 180. All right, so 11 times 180 is going to give you 1,980. All right, how did I do that? Oh, because I know that whenever you multiply times 11, you're going to get this. You put a 0, and then you're going to get the same number shifted to the left. So that was a little quick way of doing it. If you understood me, copy that, because that's a faster way of doing it, okay? ¿Cómo yo supe de escribir esto? Cuando se multiplica por 11, el número que se está multiplicando por 11, lo vamos a poner el número aquí y abajo el mismo número, pero movido para la izquierda un lugar, y simplemente sumo esos números. Así que a la vez que uno sabe eso, puede simplemente brincar a este paso y hacerlo más rápido. Alright, so the sum, when you add up, when you multiply 11 times 180, let me say that again. The sum of the interior angles of a polygon with 13 sides is 1,980. La suma de la medida de los ángulos interiores de un polígono que tiene 13 lados es 1980 grados. Alright, let's look at number 4. Alright, number 4, this is the first time we see a question like this where they're doing it kind of backwards. The same type of problems, but backwards. Let me show you what I mean. It says a polygon has an interior angle sum of 3,060. So normally up to now, we've been using this formula, and they give us the number of sides. We put it here to get what the sum is. But in this one, they're doing it backwards in the sense that they're giving us the number that goes right here at the beginning in the question. And they're asking us what is n. Because the question is, how many sides must the polygon have? Okay? So let me just say that in Spanish real quick. Esta es la primera pregunta que vemos, que es de esta manera, donde está como al revés, en el sentido de, la pregunta dice, un polígono tiene una suma de los ángulos interiores de 3060 y nos están preguntando cuántos lados tiene que tener ese polígono. Así que hasta ahora hemos estado usando esta fórmula y nos dicen cuántos lados tiene el polígono, lo sustituimos ese número para n y encontramos la suma de esa manera. Pero en esta pregunta nos están dando la suma y preguntándonos qué es n, cuántos lados tiene este polígono. Okay, así que tengo que resolver para n. Alright, so the easiest way to do it, alright, this is multiplication. So the first thing I would do is to move the 180 to the right and do the opposite of multiplying by 180, which is divide by 180. Okay, la manera más rápida de hacerlo sería primero mover 180 a la derecha y hacer lo opuesto de multiplicar por 180, que sería dividir por 180. If I divide both sides by 180, this step it's not necessary to write. That's a slower way, but whatever, just so everybody realizes what I'm doing. Alright, for 3060 divided by 180, just for the sake of time, I'm gonna use a calculator here. Give me 1 second. 3060 divided by 180. It's 17, alright? That gives me 17. Cuando divido esto me da 17. Alright? But look, I still got n minus 2 there, so 17 is not my answer. Me falta el menos 2 ese que tengo que quitar. Alright, I still gotta move the minus 2 to the other side. So add both sides by 2, and n is gonna equal 19. So the polygon has 19 sides. El polígono tiene 19 lados. Alright, let's look at number 5. Let me erase all this. Two of the angles in a triangle measure 50 degrees and 27 degrees. Find the measure of the third angle. That one's like almost too easy, okay? Dos de los ángulos en un triángulo miden 50 grados y 27 grados. Encuentren la medida del tercer ángulo. Demasiado fácil. Alright, so 50 plus 27 plus x. I'm not going to waste time using the formula because we already know a triangle, the sum of the angles of a triangle is 180. Alright, no vaya a gastar tiempo con la fórmula porque ya sabemos que es 180 la suma de los ángulos interiores de un triángulo. Alright, so when you add this, you're going to get 77 plus x equals 180. Now subtract 77 from both sides, and you're going to get 103. So x equals 103 degrees. Alright. Alright, there are questions like this. These are the last two questions from the first part of what we got to go over today. Then we're going to go to the second part. There are questions like this on your homework, okay? Hay preguntas como esta en la tarea. Number 8, determine the unknown angle measures for the quadrilateral in the diagram. Alright, so first of all, we already saw that when you add up the angles of a quadrilateral, it's always going to equal 360. Okay, ya vimos que cuando se suma los ángulos de un quadrilateral siempre te da 360. Alright, so when I add them all up, it's got to equal 360. Alright, so I'm going to set up my equation like this. X plus 2x plus 3x plus 4x has to equal 360. Combine like terms. Combinen los términos iguales. There's an invisible one here. Hay un uno invisible aquí. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 plus 3 is 6. 6 plus 4 is 10. I got 10x equals 360. Now divide both sides by 10. Or divide the 360 by 10 to get your answer. X is going to equal 36. Alright, so that means that this angle is 36. This angle right here is going to be 2 times 36, which is 72. Let me put that like that. This angle right here is going to be 3 times 36, alright, which is going to give you 108. And this angle right here is going to be 4 times 36, alright, which is going to give you 144 if I'm not mistaken. Let me make sure. 4 times 6, yeah, and 4, yeah, 144. Alright, so those are all four angles. Because you had to find out all four angles, okay? Teníamos que encontrar la medida de los cuatro ángulos. And if you add up all four of those angles, it'll give you 360. Si sumamos los cuatro ángulos, me tiene que dar 360. Alright, let's look at number 9. The cross-section of a beehive reveals it is made of regular hexagons. Two things. Number one, a hexagon has 6 sides. 6 sides and 6 angles. And the word regular, I've said this before, whenever you see the word regular in geometry, that means that all the sides measure the same and all the angles measure the same. That's what regular means in geometry. What is the measure of each angle in the regular hexagon? Okay. Así que dice que todas estas figuras son hexagons regulares, ¿ok? Un hexagon tiene 6 lados y la palabra regular en geometría quiere decir que todos los lados miden igual y todos los ángulos miden igual. Tienen la misma medida. La pregunta es cuál es la medida de cada ángulo en este hexagon regular. Alright, so if a hexagon has 6 angles and they all measure the same, alright, in other words, you know what, let me start here so I don't lose anybody, okay? Let me start here. When I add up all the angles in a hexagon, it's got to give me the following. I'm using the formula, 6 minus 2 is 4. La suma de todos los ángulos en un hexagon me tiene que dar siempre 720. Alright, so that means if they all measure the same, I'm doing it the slow way for the people that maybe don't see what I'm talking about, alright? If I add up all 6 angles in a hexagon, it's got to equal 720. When I add up all of these, I'm going to get 6x. ¿Ok? Cuando sumo los 6 ángulos de un hexagon, si todos miden igual, puedo usar el mismo variable, x más x más x más x. Así que la manera más rápida es escribir 6x es igual a 720. Now, just divide 720 by 6. Alright, and you're going to get each angle is 120 degrees. Cada ángulo mide 120. Alright, let's move on to the second part of our lesson. La segunda parte de la lección. Alright, we just did interior angles, now we're going to talk about exterior angles. Acabamos de hacer ángulos interiores, ahora vamos a hablar de ángulos exteriores. Alright, look at this picture, it's very important. Miren este diagrama que es muy importante. Look at what an exterior angle is. It's on the outside of the triangle. Okay, el ángulo exterior está en la parte de afuera de este triángulo. And I'll talk about these two in a second. The definition of an exterior angle is an angle formed by one side of a polygon and the extension of an adjacent side. Here's the one side of the polygon, and here's the extension of the adjacent side. Adjacent means next to. So this side that's next to that first side is being extended, and together they form that exterior angle. Exterior angles form linear pairs with the interior angles. So this exterior angle forms a linear pair with this angle that's on the inside. A linear pair means that together they form a straight line. So when you add them up, it has to equal 180. What I just said is very important because we're going to use that on a lot of questions. All right, when I add this exterior angle plus this interior angle that's right next to it, they got to equal 180. A remote interior angle is an interior angle that is not adjacent to the exterior angle. Again, adjacent means next to. So let me read it again. A remote interior angle is an interior angle, so it's an angle on the interior, on the inside, that is not next to the exterior angle. So that's why both of these are remote interior angles, because they are on the inside of the polygon and they are not next to this exterior angle. That's very important. Make sure you understand what remote interior angles are. It's the interior angles that are not next to this exterior angle, because we're going to use that to solve a bunch of problems in a second. Let me repeat that in Spanish now, okay? Okay, en español. Así que un ángulo exterior, déjame borrar todo esto. Un ángulo exterior es un ángulo formado por un lado de un polígono, de un polígono, que es este lado en este caso, y la extensión de un lado adyacente. Ah, espera, ahora me recordé que tengo esto en español aquí. Vamos a mirarlo otra vez. Un ángulo externo de un polígono, que en este ejemplo, todos estos diagramas es la misma cosa. Si miran aquí el ángulo 4, o pueden mirar aquí, es un ángulo formado por un lado de un polígono y la prolongación del lado adyacente. Adyacente quiere decir al lado, ¿ok? Así que la prolongación del lado adyacente a este lado. ¿Ok? Eso forma el ángulo exterior, que es el ángulo 4, o aquí este ángulo. Algo que no dice en esta definición, pero sí estaba en inglés, y esto es muy importante. ¿Ok? El ángulo exterior, el número 4, forma una pareja lineal con este ángulo, ángulo 3. El ángulo que está al lado. Juntos forman una pareja lineal. Eso es muy importante porque eso quiere decir que la suma de estos dos ángulos siempre te tienen que dar 180. Y eso lo vamos a usar en muchos de los problemas que vienen. ¿Ok? Y la otra parte, el otro término sería este, que también es muy importante. Ángulo interno remoto. Eso es un ángulo interno de un polígono que no es adyacente al ángulo externo. ¿Ok? Así que otra vez, el ángulo 4 es el ángulo externo. Así que un ángulo interno remoto son ángulos que están internos, pero no están adyacentes al ángulo exterior. Así que en este ejemplo, si miramos aquí abajo, serían estos dos ángulos. Son los ángulos que están en el interior del polígono, pero no están adyacentes al ángulo exterior. Eso es muy importante porque hay una fórmula que vamos a ver en un momento que tenemos que saber la definición de esta palabra para poder usar esa fórmula. Alright, so let me go back here. Alright, so let me show you something. I'm going to show you something that's on your homework, and I didn't really put it in this picture, so I need you to pay attention to me. Alright. Le voy a enseñar algo que está en la tarea, pero no está en esta foto muy claro, así que necesito que me ponga atención. Alright, so look, if we look at this diagram, we already know that when you add up the interior angles of a triangle, it has to equal 180. So the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 plus the measure of angle 3 equals 180. This is on one of your questions. Ok, ya sabemos que la medida de los ángulos interiores de un triángulo, la suma te tiene que dar 180. Ok, now also, look right here. This exterior angle plus this interior angle form a linear pair. That means that when I add them up, they equal 180 because the straight line is always 180. Este ángulo exterior con este ángulo interior forman una pareja lineal, que quiere decir que la suma te tiene que dar 180, porque una línea recta siempre mide 180 grados. Okay, so the measure of angle 3 plus the measure of angle 4 equals 180. Okay, now, if this equals 180 and this also equals 180, that means that this entire part of the equation equals this entire part of the equation. So let me write that. Si lo que estoy escribiendo ahora, si esto es equivalente a 180, y esta parte, lo que dice aquí, también es equivalente a 180, eso quiere decir que todo esto es equivalente a todo esto, que es lo que voy a escribir aquí. Okay, now, let me change colors a second. If I subtract both sides are equal. So if I subtract the same thing from both sides, they're still going to remain equal. Okay, los dos lados de la ecuación son equivalentes. Así que si yo resto la misma cantidad de los dos lados, se mantienen equivalentes. So look, if I subtract from both sides the measure of angle 3, I get a new equation. That new equation is going to say the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 equals the measure of angle 4. All right, that's very important because look at the diagram again. The measure of the two remote interior angles, the sum of the two remote interior angles, if I add both of these up, it's got to equal the exterior angle. I'm going to say that again because we're going to use that on a whole bunch of problems right now. The sum, when I add up the sum of the two remote interior angles has to equal the exterior angle. That's the formula that we're going to use for a bunch of problems right now. Okay. Lo que esto quiere decir, si miramos el diagrama, es que la suma de los ángulos interior remoto siempre tiene que ser equivalente a este ángulo exterior. Esa fórmula lo vamos a usar ahora para casi todos los problemas. Otra vez, la suma de los ángulos interior remoto tiene que ser equivalente al ángulo exterior. Okay, so that's what it says here. So whatever, let's go straight to a problem. All right, let's look at the first one, which is already worked out. We'll look at this one, and then we'll look at others that I'll do the whole thing, all right? So in the first one, it says find the measure of angle B. Encuentren la medida de ángulo B. So in this diagram, this 145 is the exterior angle. 145 es el ángulo exterior. And these two angles right here are the remote interior angles. Remote. Los ángulos internos remoto. Son estos dos. Alright, so that means that this one equals the sum of these two. Este ángulo es equivalente a la suma de estos dos ángulos, que es lo que escribieron aquí. That's what they wrote right here. Alright, now you combine like terms and solve for z, and you get your answer for z. Combinan los términos iguales y resuelven para z, y ahí está el valor de z. Now to find out, the question was find the measure of angle B. La pregunta era encontrar la medida de ángulo B. So now you gotta substitute. Ahora tienen que sustituir el valor de Z. You gotta substitute the value of Z right there and do 5 times 21 minus 2. 5 por 21 menos 2. Y eso te da la medida de ángulo B. That gives you the measure of angle B. Alright? Let me do example B from scratch here so you could see, so you can follow along, okay? Vamos a hacer el ejemplo B. Alright, so this right here is the exterior angle. Este es el ángulo exterior. And these two are the remote interior angles. Estos dos son los ángulos interior remoto. Okay, so write an equation relating the exterior and remote interior angles. Escriben una ecuación relacionando, no sé cómo traducir eso bien, el ángulo exterior. Escribe una ecuación enseñando la relación entre el ángulo exterior y los ángulos interior remoto. Alright, so I would write 3x minus 8 equals, how much is this angle? 90. Este ángulo es 90. Alright, so let me write x plus 2 first. X plus 2 plus 90. That would be my equation. Ahí está mi ecuación. Okay, now solve for the unknown. Resuelven para x, básicamente. Alright, so 2 plus 90 is 92. So 3x minus 8 equals x plus 92. Okay? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Alright, hit the wrong button. Alright, so now let's move x to the left. This will give you 2x. And move minus 8 to the right, which will give you 100. So 2x equals 100. That means x equals 100 divided by 2. So x equals 50. Okay, x igual a 50. Okay, now the last question says use the value for the unknown to evaluate the expression for the required angle. Usar el valor para x para encontrar la medida que nos estaban pidiendo aquí. Find the measure of angle PRS. Alright, so x equals 50. X equals 50. Find the measure of angle PRS. Tenemos que encontrar la medida de este ángulo. So you got to do 3 times 50 minus 8. Substitute. Tenemos que substituir. So 150 minus 8, which is going to give you 142 degrees. So the measure of angle PRS is 142 degrees. Alright, couple more. Determine the measure of angle N in triangle MNP. Tenemos que determinar la medida de ángulo N en este triángulo. So again, this is the exterior angle, and these two are the remote interior angles. Estos dos son los ángulos internos remotos. So this angle equals the sum of these two angles. Este ángulo es equivalente a la suma de estos dos ángulos. Alright, so 3x plus 7 plus 63 has to equal 5x plus 50. Alright, so now just basic algebra. Combine like terms. Combinen los términos iguales. 3x plus 70 equals 5x plus 50. Alright, now let's get all the terms with x on one side and all the terms that don't have x on the other side. So if I move 3x to the right by subtracting, I'll have 2x. And if I move 50 to the left, I have 20. So 2x equals 20. That means x equals 20 divided by 2. That means x equals 10. X es igual a 10. But that was not the question. The question was determine the measure of angle N. La pregunta es determinar la medida de ángulo N. Así que ahora tengo que sustituir. Now I gotta substitute. Right there. Alright, so 3 times 10 plus 7. 3 times 10 is 30. 30 plus 7, so the answer is 37 degrees. La respuesta es 37 grados. Alright, now let's look at number 12. Alright, number 12 you should pay attention to. Alright, deben poner atención al número 12. If the exterior angle drawn measures 150, that's already in the picture, and the measure of angle D is twice that of angle E, find the measure of the two remote interior angles. Okay, notice it doesn't say anything here. However, look how you do this. Alright, it says the measure of angle D is twice the measure of angle E. Do I know the measure of angle E? No, I don't. So let's put a variable. Let's put the letter x there. That allows me to write for the measure of angle D 2x, because whatever angle E is, which I don't know, angle D is 2 times this amount. So that's how you should set up your problem, because this is going to allow me to solve for everything, okay? Let me just repeat that in Spanish. En español, si el ángulo exterior dibujado mide 150 grados, ya eso está escrito. Pero miren esta parte. Y la medida de ángulo D es 2 veces la medida de ángulo E. Encuentren la medida de los dos ángulos interior remoto. Ok, aquí no escribieron nada. Ok, pero dice que la medida de ángulo D es 2 veces la medida de ángulo E. ¿Sabemos qué es la medida de ángulo E? No, no sabemos. Así que debemos poner un variable ahí, X. Eso me deja ahora escribir para ángulo D 2X. Porque si la medida de ángulo D es 2 veces la medida de ángulo E, pero no sé lo que mide ángulo E, puedo poner una X para ángulo E y 2x para ángulo D, y ahora eso me permite resolver este problema. Alright, so the equation, relationship that we know is that the exterior angle, which is 150, equals the sum of the two remote interior angles. La relación que ya sabemos es que el ángulo exterior, la medida del ángulo exterior es equivalente a la suma de los dos ángulos interior remoto. So 2x plus x has to equal 150. Now look how easy the problem is. Miren qué fácil es el problema ahora. Now just divide 150 by 3. So x equals 50 degrees. Okay, so that means x es igual a 50 grados. So that means that angle E, la medida de ángulo E es 50 grados, angle E is 50 degrees, and angle D, la medida de ángulo D, is 100 degrees. Because 2 times 50 is 100. 2 por 50 es 100. Alright. Alright, let's look at these. We're almost done. Alright, so again, this is the exterior angle. Este es el ángulo exterior, and these are the two remote interior angles. Estos son los dos ángulos interno remoto. So my equation is going to be 126 equals this angle plus this angle. La ecuación va a ser 126 es equivalente a la suma de estos dos ángulos. So 6x minus 1 plus 5x plus 17. Alright, so combine like terms. Combinen los términos iguales. 6x plus 5x is 11x. Negative 1 plus 17. Negativo 1 más 17 is 16, is 16. Alright, now move the 16 to the left by subtracting from both sides, and you're going to get 110 equals 11x. So x equals 110 divided by 11. So x equals 10. Alright, so that's not my answer though, because the question was what is the find the measure of angle H. La pregunta era encuentren la medida de ángulo H, así que tengo que sustituir. I gotta substitute. 6 times 10 is 60. 60 minus 1 is 59. 6 por 10 es 60 y 60 menos 1 es 59. Así que la respuesta es 59. Over here, number 14. Alright, number 14, you should also pay attention. Alright, because we haven't done one like this, okay? El número 14 deben poner atención porque no hemos hecho uno como este. Determine the measure of the indicated exterior angle in the diagram. Alright, so the question is, what is that angle right there? La pregunta es, ¿cuánto es este ángulo aquí? Alright, so look how you do this one. Alright, we know that the sum of the interior angles of a triangle is what? 180. Ya sabemos que la suma de los ángulos interiores de un triángulo te tiene que dar 180. So let me write that. 2x plus 3x plus 3x plus 4 has to equal 180. La suma de todos estos ángulos me tiene que dar 180. Alright, now combine like terms. Combinen los términos iguales. 5x plus 3x is 8x plus 4 equals 180. Now subtract 4 from both sides, and you're going to get 176. So 8x equals 176. Now do 176 divided by 8. So x is going to equal 22. X is 22. All right. So now look, okay. So look, x equals 22. I'm going to erase this. All right. X equals 22. So that means that this angle right here is 3 times 22 plus 4. Okay, si x es igual a 22, este ángulo es 3 por 22 más 4, which is going to be 66 plus 4. So it's going to be 70 degrees. Alright, so this angle right here is 70 degrees. Este ángulo mide 70 grados. So this is 70 degrees. But the question is, how much is this angle right here? Hopefully a lot of you already could do it in your mind because the answer is right there, okay? Deben ya saber qué es la respuesta, que cuánto mide este ángulo. But for the people that don't see it, let me do this. If I have a linear pair, si tengo una pareja lineal, and this angle is 70 degrees, when you add them up, it has to equal 180. La suma te tiene que dar 180, así que esto tiene que ser 110. This one has to be 110, alright? To put it another way, alright, if this is 70 and this is x, 70 plus x has to equal 180. Alright, so if you subtract 70 from 180, that angle has to be 110. Alright, so the answer is 110 degrees. Alright. Okay, this is also on your homework. We got this one and one more and we're done, alright? But this is on your homework. Esto está en la tarea. Tenemos esta pregunta y uno más y ya. Alright, it says we gotta match each angle with their corresponding measure. Given that the measure of angle 1 is 130 degrees, la medida de ángulo 1 es 130 grados. And the measure of angle 7 is 70 degrees. La medida de ángulo 7 es 70 grados. Okay? So look, I'm gonna solve them all. I'm not even gonna look here. Let me first solve them all. Okay, here we have a straight line, a linear pair. Aquí tenemos una línea recta, una pareja lineal. So if this one's 130, this one has to be 180 minus 130. Este tiene que ser 180 menos 130, which is going to be 50. 50 grados. Alright? Here we have vertical angles. Aquí tenemos ángulos verticales. So if this one's 70, this one's also 70. Alright, now here we have a triangle in the middle here. Aquí tenemos un triángulo. So if this angle is 70, and this one is 50, and when I add them all up, it has to equal 180. La suma te tiene que dar 180. So just subtract from 180 both of these angles. When you add up these angles, you get 120. So 180 minus 120 is 60. Alright, así que este ángulo tiene que ser 60, porque cuando le resto de 180, 70 y 50, me queda 60. Okay, right here I got a straight line with angles 3 and 4. They form a linear pair. Ángulos 3 y 4 forman una pareja lineal. So to find out angle 4, just do 180 minus 60. Para coger ángulo 4, se hace 180 menos 60, which is going to give you 120. Last one. Right here, we got a linear pair. You could either look at it as angles 5 and 6, form a linear pair, or angles 7 and 6. You're going to get the same answer either way. Aquí tengo una pareja lineal. Lo pueden mirar ángulo 6 con ángulo 5 o ángulo 6 con ángulo 7. Los dos te dan la misma respuesta. Do 180 minus 70. Hagan 180 menos 70. And that gives you the answer. That's going to be 110. Now we just got to look here and connect the dots to the right answer. The measure of angle 2 is 50. So, how do I do this? Alright, so the measure of angle 2 is 50. The measure of angle 3 is 60. So that's going to be B. Alright, why are these? The measure of angle 4 is 120. Alright, I got worried because they were all like ABC. I thought it was going to be ABCD. I was like, did I mess up? Alright, the measure of angle 4 is 120. So the C goes here. The measure of angle 5 is 70. So that goes here. And the measure of angle 6 is 110. So that goes here. There are my answers. Alright, last one we got to go over. Last question. La última pregunta. This is also on your homework. Esto también está en la tarea. It says the map of France commonly used in the 1600s was significantly revised as a result of a triangulation survey. The diagram shows part of the survey map. Use the diagram to find the measure of angle KMG. Note that angle KMG is congruent to angle NKM. Okay, no voy a traducir todo eso porque sé que no lo puedo hacer, ¿ok? Pero básicamente la pregunta dice que usen el diagrama para encontrar la medida de ángulo KMJ. KMJ. Ok, KMJ es este ángulo aquí. Alright, we're looking for this angle. Estamos buscando para este ángulo aquí. KMJ, KMG. Alright. Y dice que noten que ángulo KMJ es congruente a ángulo NKM. NKM. Okay, so this angle is congruent to this angle. Este ángulo es congruente a este ángulo aquí. Alright, so, oh wow, this is like ridiculously easy. Right here we have a triangle. This is very fast. Right here we have this triangle. Thought it was going to be more complicated. Okay, aquí tenemos este triángulo. Y if we already know that these two, I'm getting confused. Do I speak in Spanish or English? Hold on, I wrote that wrong. 88 and 48. Alright, so all you got to do is figure out this angle and that'll give us the answer. So just do 180 minus these two answers. Let me add up 88 plus 48 real quick. Alright, so 180 minus 136. So this angle is 44 degrees. So that's it. That was actually really fast. Este ángulo mide 44. By the way, the reason that this angle equals this angle is because that must mean that these two lines are parallel. This line and this line got to be parallel. Si este ángulo es equivalente a este ángulo, eso quiere decir que estas dos líneas tienen que ser paralelos. Alright. Alright guys, so this concludes this lesson. You know the routine. Your homework is in the student portal. It's due by 6 a.m. the next day that you have my class. Remember that you could do the homework up to 10 times if you get a bad grade. And if you have a question, take a screenshot and send it to me on Remind. However, I pretty much covered every single type of problem you're going to have on the homework. So you're going to get a much better answer just by looking at the video and finding the question that's similar to the one that you're doing on the homework, because I'm explaining it perfectly in the video. Ok, la tarea está en el portal de estudiante. Tienen hasta las 6 de la mañana el próximo día que tienen mi clase para entregarlo. Pueden hacer la tarea hasta 10 veces. Si cogen un grado malo, lo pueden hacer otra vez. Si tienen una pregunta, me pueden mandar una foto por Remind para ayudarlo, pero mejor que esa idea sería mirar el video y encontrar el problema similar al que están haciendo, porque cubro cada tipo de problema que tienen en la tarea en este video. ¿Ok? Así que lo más inteligente sería encontrar el problema similar y mirar la explicación en lo que están haciendo en la tarea. Alright guys, hope you guys have a great day and I'll see you guys next class.